The cold bites, but it is a familiar pain. It is the other cold, the one that seeps from the frozen earth into Elara's gut. That is new. She stands at the edge of the hollow, a shallow depression hidden by a screen of gnarled, wind-stunted junipers. This is their larder, their promise of life through the long, white dark of winter. Where it was, the pit is a ruin. Heavy stones, placed with the care of a season's hope, are tossed aside like pebbles. The tightly woven hide cover is shredded. The frozen soil beneath churned into a dark, ugly wound in the snow. Splinters of bone, the massive femur of a steppe bison, the ribs of a woolly rhino, are scattered and gnawed, their marrow sucked clean. This was not the work of a lone wolf or a scavenging bear. This was an excavation, efficient, systematic. Her breath plumes, a frantic ghost in the frigid air. She turns and runs, her ferret feet silent on the packed snow. She does not shout. A scream is a beacon in this vast emptiness, an invitation to the hungry. The clan sees the alarm in her eyes as she bursts back into the rock shelter. The small group of Homo sapiens, no more than 15 souls, stops their work. A young male napping a flint core, 2 women scraping a reindeer hide. They are a fragile flicker of warmth and thought in a world of ice, and that flicker has just been threatened with extinguishment. They follow her back to the ruined cache, their movements start with a shared, unspoken dread. Kale is the last to arrive. His hair is the color of frost, his face a map of seasons endured. He does not look at the destruction. Instead, he kneels, his old joints cracking a protest against the cold, and studies the tracks. They are everywhere. Large, rounded, foot-toed prints pressed deep into the earth, too large for a wolf. He touches the edge of one print, his bare finger tracing the deep claw mark. He looks at the gnawed bones, at the sheer power required to splinter a rhino's femur. This is the signature of the bone crushers. Crocodile spellier, the cave hyena. A dominant piece of the Pleistocene megafauna, and not just a scavenger, but an intelligent, pack-hunting predator that fears little. This is the brutal truth of prehistoric life. He rises slowly, his gaze sweeping over the silent, watching faces of his kin, these early humans. He sees the question in their eyes. A single hyena is a danger. A pair is a threat. But the number of tracks, the scale of the theft, this is different. This is a clan, a rival clan of hunters who have found an easier way to eat. They have watched, they have waited, and now they are taking the future, one frozen carcass at a time. The winter has barely begun, and already, starvation is a guest at their hearth. The true enemy is not the cold, nor the coming snows. It is a thinking, coordinated hunger that now knows where they live. The fire does little to push back the weight of the encroaching night. Every shadow that dances on the limestone walls of the shelter seems to take on a hunched, powerful shape. Every gust of wind whistling through the crevices sounds like a high, whooping call from the darkness. Fear is a physical presence now, a thief that steals the warmth from their bodies and the words from their mouths. They eat a meager meal of dried berries and the last scraps of smoked fish, the knowledge of their plundered future making every mouthful taste of ash. The young ones are silent, their eyes wide, sensing the terror that grips the adults. This is the raw, unfiltered engine of human evolution. It is a problem that must be solved, or a lineage that will be extinguished. The story of hominid history is written in moments like this. Kale sits apart. He's back to the fire, his gaze fixed on the cave mouth. He is not watching for hyenas. He is watching the memory of them. He sees their intelligence in the systematic ruin of the cache. They are not mindless beasts. They think. They coordinate. And a thinking enemy cannot be defeated by simple rage or brute force. To charge into their midst with spears would be to offer their own bones for the crushing. He closes his eyes, his mind's eye tracing the landscape beyond the shelter. Every rock formation, every game trail, every treacherous slope he has walked for 60 seasons. This knowledge is his clan's greatest weapon. a legacy of survival skills passed down through generations. He rises, his movements stiff but deliberate, and picks up a charred stick from the fire's edge. In the smooth dust of the cave floor, he begins to draw a series of parallel lines, a narrower gap, a circle. The others gather around, their faces illuminated by the flickering firelight. He points with the stick, his voice a low rasp. He points to the two young, fast males. Then he points to the drawing of the parallel lines. The ravine, a week's walk from here, with its steep, unclimbable sides, the natural choke point. He makes a guttural sound, imitating the hyenas, and moves a small pebble representing the bait along the drawing. He then points to the circle at the end of the ravine, a dead end, a small clearing overhung by a massive, precariously balanced slab of granite. The plan forms in the dirt, a testament to the power of primitive technology and collective thought. It is a multi-stage gamble. They will use the last of their remaining meat, a significant portion of a reindeer carcass, as bait. The two fastest runners will drag it, leaving a scent trail the pack cannot ignore, leading them away from the shelter and toward the ravine. The rest of the clan will travel ahead, using a different, wind-swept route to avoid leaving a trail. Their task will be the great work, to build the trap, using their knowledge of leverage and balance. They will prop up the granite slab with a carefully constructed lattice of logs, all resting on a single trigger branch baited with the final lure. Their most advanced lithic technology will be put to the test, shaping points and cutters from flint to craft the wooden components. It is a desperate piece of engineering, an idea born of foresight, and it will take all of them, every hand, every ounce of strength. The seed of hope, fragile as it is, begins to sprout in the cold dread. They are not just prey, they are ancient humans, and they will pit their minds against the brute force of this ancient earth. The waiting is a form of freezing all its own. Crouched in the rocks high above the ravine, the clan is as still and silent as the stones they hide behind. The wind is a knife, carving away their wounds, but no one moves, no one shivers. Below, the deadfall trap is a masterpiece of desperate physics. The great slab of granite hangs like a suspended judgment, held by a web of logs that all depend on one slender trigger branch. The bait, the last of the reindeer, is tied to it. The scent, carried on the wind, is an irresistible promise. Now up, there is only the waiting. Hours grind by. The sun, a pale disk in a grey sky, begins its slow descent. Doubt, cold and sharp, begins to creep in. Then, a sound. A single, high-pitched whoop that echoes off the rock walls. Another answers it. Soon, the air is alive with the chilling, manic chorus of the pack. They are coming. The clan presses themselves flatter against the rock, hearts hammering against their ribs. The first hyena appears at the mouth of the ravine. It is massive, a brute of muscle and bone, nor shallow, a tide of spotted fur and powerful shoulders, their jaws capable of pulverizing granite. At their head is the matriarch, larger than the rest, her movements radiating an unnerving intelligence. She is the keystone predator, the mind of this pack, and the clan's plan lives or dies in her caution. She stops short of the trap. The pack steals behind her. She lifts her massive head, nostrils flaring, testing the air. She smells the meat. She smells the disturbed earth. She smells the faint, lingering scent of the thing that is not rock or snow or animal, human ancestors. The trap is too obvious. Her instinct, honed over a lifetime of survival in the brutal world of prehistory, screams that this is wrong. She takes a half step back. The pack murmurs, confused. The plan is failing. In that frozen moment, high on the ridge, Kale meets Sonora's eyes. There is no time for a signal, no need for a word. He sees the future of his kind balanced on the edge of a knife, and he makes his choice. He rises. A single, stark figure against the skyline. He lets out a sharp cry. A challenge. The matriarch's head snaps up. The entire pack focuses on him. He is old, small, and easy to kill, forgetting the bait below. The matriarch's instinct switches from caution to aggression. This is an insult that must be answered. She lunges forward, crushing past the trigger point. Kale does not wait. He turns and runs, not away, but along the ridge, toward the deadfall. He becomes the final lure, the living bait. The matriarch, consumed by the chase, follows directly under the stone slab. Elara pulls the release vine. The trigger lock kicks out.
They march side
For a
by
heartbeat,
side,
there is only the groan of
between
stressed
them,
wood.
across the
Then a
open
sound
plain
like
toward
thunder as the
river.
granite slab falls. It crushes the matriarch into others in an instant. The rest of the pack, their leader gone, panics and flees. Silence returns to the ravine, deeper and heavier than before. They have won. Later, they will gather his broken body and wrap him in his finest hide. A dusting of reed ochre over his still heart, a scene of sorrow that future archaeology could only guess at. They have their future back, but they have paid for the dawn with their past. The scene left behind in the ravine is not a monument to victory. It is a scar on the landscape, a brutal equation of survival etched in stone and bone. This moment, lost to a time long before recorded history, is more than a single clan's desperate act. It is a blueprint. It is the story of human evolution distilled to its rawest essence. When faced with a force that cannot be overcome with strength, it must be defeated with thought. Kayle's sacrifice was not a moment of heroic glory. It was a devastatingly logical calculation. He weighed his one life, already nearing its end, against the 15 lives that carried the clan's future. The choice was hard, but it was not complex. Here, in the blood and the cold, is the algorithm that allowed a physically fragile primate to inherit the earth. It is the birth of strategy, the grim necessity of altruism, and the understanding that the survival of the group is the only survival that truly matters. These instincts, forged in the frozen crucible of a world we can barely imagine, are Kayla's ghosts. They live in us still. The quiet willingness to plan for a future we may not see, to protect the whole at the cost of the self, to look into the darkness and think, not just feel. We bear witness not to the birth of gods, but to the forging of ghosts, and we are their inheritors. But what happens when the threat is not a beast, but kin?